What if I told you that right now, today, your tax dollars are about to be handed over to a president's political allies with zero transparency, zero congressional approval, and zero accountability? Not in some distant country, not in a history book. Right here, right now, in America. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not speculation. This has been reported by ABC News, confirmed by sources inside the administration, and condemned by members of both parties. And if you do not hear about this, if you scroll past this, the people responsible are counting on your silence. Let me explain exactly what is happening. President Donald Trump is expected to drop his $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS in exchange for the creation of a $1.7 billion taxpayer-funded compensation fund, one that would pay political allies who claim they were targeted by the Biden administration, including nearly 1,600 people charged in connection with the January 6th Capitol attack. Read that again. $1.7 billion. Your money. Being handed to his allies. And here is the part that should make your blood run cold. This fund, this commission they are creating, would be under no obligation to disclose its procedures or decision-making process for awarding more than $1 billion. No transparency, no public record, no accountability. This is where it gets serious. Let's go back to the beginning, because you need to understand how we got here. The story starts with a real crime. Between 2018 and 2020, a contractor named Charles Littlejohn, working inside the IRS, illegally accessed and stole the confidential tax return information of thousands of wealthy Americans, including Trump and his family. Littlejohn was caught, charged, convicted, and sent to prison. Justice was served, case closed. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Earlier this year, Trump decided the criminal penalty wasn't enough and filed a $10 billion lawsuit against the federal tax agency, setting up an unprecedented situation in which a president sought a massive payout from the same executive branch he leads. Think about that for a moment. A sitting president, suing his own government, the government he controls. This is not normal. This has never happened before in American history. And here is the part they are not advertising on the evening news. A federal judge caught it almost immediately. U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams questioned whether Trump and the agencies are sufficiently adverse to each other, writing that although Trump claims he is bringing the lawsuit in his personal capacity, he is the sitting president, and his named adversaries are entities whose decisions are subject to his direction. In plain English, the judge was saying, you cannot sue yourself. You control both sides of this lawsuit. This case is a legal fiction. And she gave them a deadline, May 20th, to explain why the case should even be allowed to continue. So what did they do? They ran. The settlement talks accelerated in part because the lawsuit was in legal trouble in court. Before the judge could throw the whole thing out, before the public could watch that humiliation play out in a courtroom, they quietly started negotiating a settlement with themselves. The Trump DOJ, which Trump controls, settling a Trump lawsuit on Trump's behalf using your money. This is not accidental. This is intentional. Now here is where you need to pay very close attention, because this is the part they buried deep in the reporting. The new fund would be drawn from the Treasury Department's Judgment Fund, which is something the federal government uses to pay settlements and court judgments. But in this case, Trump would wield quasi-direct control over that money. Under the settlement, Trump can remove commission members overseeing the new fund without cause, and the fund would not be required to disclose its decision-making involving who gets awarded compensation. Let that sink in. He picks the people handing out the money. He can fire those people for any reason or for no reason at all, and those people do not have to tell anyone why they gave money to whoever they gave it to. No paper trail, no public record, no congressional vote. This is not a compensation fund. This is a loyalty reward system, paid for by you. How many of you are struggling right now? How many of you are watching your grocery bills go up, watching your rent climb, watching your savings shrink? And right now, as you do that, there are people in Washington designing a system to take $1.7 billion of your money and hand it out to political allies with no rules and no receipts. Think about who is in line to receive this money. The commission would have total authority to hand out taxpayer funds to settle claims brought by anyone who alleges they were harmed by the Biden administration's weaponization of the legal system, including the nearly 1,600 individuals charged in connection with the January 6th Capitol attack, as well as potentially entities associated with President Trump himself. The January 6th rioters. People who beat police officers with flagpoles. People who broke into the United States Capitol while Congress was in session. People who were charged, convicted, and then pardoned. And now, not satisfied with the pardons, they want to be paid with your tax dollars. And there is a legal argument that makes this even more disturbing. The 14th Amendment prohibits the government from assuming any obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States. If this fund hands money to the January 6th rioters, Trump would be using federal taxpayer dollars to compensate people who participated in insurrection. This is not a gray area. This is not a matter of interpretation. This is potentially unconstitutional on its face, and it is not happening in isolation. This is part of a pattern. The DOJ has already settled several lawsuits brought by other Trump allies. In March 2026, the DOJ settled a lawsuit with former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, awarding him over $1 million following what he described as a wrongful prosecution. In April 2026, the DOJ settled a lawsuit brought by former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, who sued the DOJ and FBI over surveillance related to Russian contacts. One by one, ally by ally, the Justice Department is writing checks. And now they want to write the biggest check of all. The Proud Boys separately filed a $100 million lawsuit against the DOJ in June 2025, alleging their prosecutions were politically motivated. Are they next in line? Are they waiting for their payment from this new fund? Here is the truth that the spin and the noise is designed to hide. This was never about the IRS leak. The leak was real, the harm was real, and the contractor went to prison for it. But a $10 billion lawsuit filed by the president against his own executive branch, designed to collapse before a court deadline, only to be replaced by a secret fund with no oversight that rewards political allies, that is not justice. That is a shakedown. Senator Ron Wyden, the top Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee, put it plainly. Rushing a settlement to hand over $1.7 billion taxpayer dollars for a slush fund before a judge can toss out your lawsuit would be among the most corrupt acts in American political history. And even people inside the administration agree. The proposed creation of the compensation fund has led some administration officials to raise ethical concerns about the arrangement, stemming not only from Trump suing his own government, but also from having control of an entity that can freely hand out $1.7 billion to his allies. Even they know this looks wrong. Even Trump himself admitted it. When asked about his legal claims last year, Trump acknowledged the lawsuit looks bad, saying it is awfully strange to make a decision where he is paying himself. He said it himself, and then he did it anyway. This is the real agenda. Not protecting his tax records. Not seeking justice for a privacy violation. Trump is systematically converting neutral government mechanisms into a presidential slush fund to build his army of political dependents. Every settlement, every payout, every pardon followed by a check, it is building a network. A network of people who owe their financial survival to one man. A network funded entirely by the American taxpayer. This is the moment where ordinary people either pay attention or pay the price. Because if this goes through, if this $1.7 billion fund gets created with no oversight and no transparency, it does not stop here. It never stops here. It becomes the template. It becomes the new normal. Every future administration, every future president will point to this moment and say, it has already been done. You allowed it. If Congress flips, lawmakers have promised to move to shut down this new fund and force it to release all the details on every payment it makes. But that is a future fight. This is happening right now, and the only thing standing between this becoming permanent is an informed public that refuses to look away. So stay informed, Share this. Talk about it. Because the people designing this system are counting on your confusion. They are counting on the complexity to make your eyes glaze over. They want you to hear judgment fund and settlement commission and just move on. Do not move on. This is your money. This is your government. And this, right here, is the moment it matters most to pay attention.